Alex Holmes joins us tonight, and Alex participated in the recent Tennessee Masters tournament. Now, traditionally, Alex, this is a tournament that is renowned for its competition. It attracts the best players in the world, and this year is really no different. So before we go into some of the games that you played in this tournament, Alex, tell us about how you did. How'd you finish? How was the experience this year for you?
It was pretty good getting it, being able to see everybody there. First of all, I know it's kind of hard lately due to all of this COVID stuff going around, but luckily, we're moving along past it. It's getting a lot better than what it used to be last year. So hopefully, we can start having more and more tournaments as the year goes on. But yeah, there was a lot of great checker players there. Our good old friend Johnny Hunt was there. It was nice to see him and go over some lines with him. And just all around, it was a great experience to see everybody. And I ended up coming in second, and I was in the lead for a good portion of the tournament at the second half of the tournament, but I did end up losing the last game to come in second. But, all in all, I was decently pleased with my performance, but I know I could have played much better in a couple of scenarios. But, it's not the worst thing in the world. So, it happens.
Well, I can say from everyone on the channel, we're really proud of both you and Johnny for playing, and finishing runner-up in Tennessee and the Masters is fantastic. I know for me, that was one of my greatest accomplishments I've ever done in checkers, was finish second in the Tennessee tournament. So great job, Alex, and great job, Johnny. We're really proud of both of you. So congrats. And now, Alex, I appreciate you sharing 4 games from the tournament, and we're going to go through each of those games and give our analysis and highlights so you can see what really top-level checkers is at one of the best tournaments in the country. So, Alex, for this first game, you were playing a opponent you know very well. He is a very good master-level player. I would say he is really a borderline grandmaster, and I think you would agree. And, of course, I'm talking about your father, Michael Holmes. Alex, tell me a little bit about this game before we get into it.
Yeah, it was very interesting. We had this, usually we will call it 2 draws, because we're father and son, and we usually just like to talk over checkers while the tournament's going on, stuff like that, especially since we don't get to see each other much anymore. But I told him before the tournament, hey, Ryan and I are thinking about going over some games. I would like for us to play this, just on this one tournament at least. And of course, he was perfectly good with it. And yeah, we had a very interesting game here. It was, it was, I just happened to so have it on my father, and it was nice game from both sides of the board. And at first we thought that someone had completely messed it up, but wow, when we looked at a computer, we found one amazing line of play for both sides.
Yeah, this is a great game indeed. And I pulled up the opening here as the viewers can see. The opening is 9-13, 23-19, and 10-14. I've let the viewers know about this in the past. This is actually one of my favorite openings, if not my favorite opening. This whole grouping of families. You can play 11-16 instead of 10-14. Alex, for whatever reason, this is just one of those openings that really clicks with me. And I know when we initially went over this game a couple days ago, I saw some things that maybe the computer didn't even see, and I don't even know if they're really sound or good moves, but I certainly can really see the moves in this opening better than most. So, Alex, without further ado, let's get into it. So, your father, Michael, has the red pieces, and you have the white pieces. And I'm going to show from the red perspective for most of this because I think it's incredibly instructive. So, after the 10-14 move, you play 26-23, which I think is the best line of play here. 27-23 is also good. You can also immediately play 22-17, but 26-23, moving that apex piece, is probably best. And then your father, threatening a early 2-for-2, plays 6-10 next. I personally like 11-16, but 6-10 is perfectly sound. Now you play 22-18 next, and I think this is the move that both surprised yourself and your father, was this 1-6 move. Tell me a little bit about this move, Alex.
Yeah, when he went there, I was like, surely that there's something wrong with that, and I mean, I wasn't too confident on like if it was like a good or a bad move, but it just something about like you're not supposed to have the elbow like that with your whole double corner missing all those pieces over there. So I thought surely I have a good counterplay here, and I ended up picking the right moves, but it turns out that it's a pretty good move. I mean, it is powerful when you, because at first glance it looks awful, but if you like, I took about 15 minutes on this move right here because as I look more and more, I'm like, oh, wow, that's an amazing move. Because I'm starting to think, oh, I've lost all my advantage. I don't have any advantage here, I feel like.
Yeah, it certainly is. And after the captures, again, you can see, well, white can play 25-22, and then you have the 14-17, the 2-for-2 there. 24-20 is probably the best move here. But that 1-6, Alex, this is a move that jumped out to me right away. I believe it is, if it's not standard published play, it is certainly a very good move. So I think your father played it absolutely correct here. What you play next is you play this 31-26, which was new to me in my analysis. Again, we had a brief analysis before we started this session here. And Alex, intuitively, I told you 11-15 would be my move of choice. And then after 26-22, you had this 12-16 pitch, followed by this 14-17. And then I recommend playing this out on the board so you can see it in real time. But then after the jumps, 23-19, cover up with 6-10. And then after the jump of 30-23, you can play 15-18. I would love to play this in a tournament because I think you could have a tremendous advantage here, with a psychological advantage at the very least from the red side. So that's just my kind of quick takeaway and analysis, but I don't want to get too much into the weeds there. And for those that want to play into that line, please do. But your father played 11-16 at this point. Now, Alex, I feel like after 11-16, the game kind of plays itself, in your opinion, or did you really still have to think about some of these next moves?
Well, I mean, this move right here is pretty much forced. I don't like 25-22 at this point, and I mean, obviously I can't go 24-20. So I knew at this point I only had really one move that really made any sense, which was 19-15.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say I'm really worried, but because I didn't even expect him to go 7-0. I didn't even expect him to go here on this next move, but I definitely felt like at this point, okay, I'm more than likely not going to play for a win here. It's just I'm going to have to play for a draw in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, after the 7-11, you may think, well, 26-22, maybe a little bit more natural, but really, Alex has to be careful. Like you said, the win is kind of evaporated. Now you're playing for a draw. What you play here is you make the pitch. So you play the 15-10 pitch, followed by the 26-22 move, again, threatening that 2-for-2 with 22-18 next or 22-17 next. What your dad plays here is really a brilliant tactical play. And Alex, I know this didn't catch you off guard, but it really does clean up the board nicely and gives red a sizable advantage. And that's this 14-17 pitch next. And maybe some of the viewers can see what's really happening in this position. And then after the jump from white, you play 16-19, so taking two pieces. But now you have the triple jump back. And then you have the 15-19 exchange next. And what that does is now you have the one piece trapping three pieces, and then Alex just has to work out of his single corner. So really, white is extremely restricted at this point, but it is sound. And then to finish up the game, Alex plays 25-22, 8-11, and then there was an agreed draw. Again, this is a a drawing situation. There is definitely some pull here for red, but the game was a draw here. Alex, give me some parting thoughts that you have about this ending and about this game as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I told him that I mean, I told him how I was going to play, and I mean, we both knew at this point how it would draw. But I mean, if anybody can definitely lose this if you're not careful and you don't really know what to do, like, and that's kind of what separates masters from I wouldn't say everybody else, but a good amount of everybody throughout checkers is the end game on in the I guess you would say the strategy or the tactics of it, like what you need to be doing on like how to break through for a king or how to, keep your position, intact as much as possible. Like that if you learn how to play a good end game, your rating in checkers will just skyrocket. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, it will just help your game a ton if you know how to play a great end game. And because of that, I know how to be able to draw this. I wouldn't say rather easily, but I know what to do at this point to be able to draw this. And so this is why we ended up calling it a draw this early, because we were kind of at the point where it was in the first game, halfway through the round, we probably should get done with the first game if we can agree it's a draw or not. So we decided both this is a draw and moved on to the next game of the round since this was the first game. So that's another reason why we also called it a draw a little early. But we both knew that this would end up being a draw if I was careful and knew what to do.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, thank you so much for that incredible insight, not only from a tournament perspective, but also from the end game perspective. I completely agree with you. The end game is what separates the world-class players from just the great players or the very good players. Having a great end game is going to really set you apart in the checkers world. So, no, Alex, thank you so much for that insight. That's really, really valuable. So let's move on to the second game, Alex. Now, this second game is with another friend of the channel, Patrick Parker, who I've known for a very long time, and he's a seasoned tournament player. Alex, I think his tournament style and his playing style overall is actually very similar to yours. Did you kind of get that feel as well?
Yeah, I actually hadn't really played Patrick before, I don't think. If I did, it was a long time ago. And when I was playing him, I was like, hey, this guy kind of plays like me. And yeah, I definitely saw the similarity between the two when I was playing him.
Yeah, he has a very fearless kind of style, and he's not afraid to play some aggressive moves. So the opening that you two played, you had the white side and he had the red side, and the opening was 9-14, 22-18, and 11-15. Now, Alex, we talked about this again in our previous conversations, how you will typically play the 11-18 jump. And certainly this jump is recommended in a lot of texts, really as the main trunk line of that. But for me, I am a disciple. I believe 100% in the 18-9 jump, and I've scored many, many wins with that double corner jump. So, Alex, I know that the 18-11 has been kind of your move. Can you give the viewers also some reasons why maybe you do prefer that single corner jump?
Well, the reason why is because I actually, you probably know that my weakest point is still published play, even though I've really significantly improved in that lately over the past year or so. I actually know a good amount of published play on this line, on this certain line. So this is why I also play this, and that is because I also hope to play it, that my opponent also plays it with the white side to jump this way. I don't necessarily mind if they jump 14 or 18-9. I always get draws like that, but I always hope they go jump from 18-11 as well, because I know I can win with the red side on that as well. So that's why I always jump 18-11, especially if I'm playing as white first.
Interesting. Yeah, they're definitely winning possibilities for both sides, I would say here, even with the 18-9 jump. So again, just some philosophical differences between Alex and myself, but that's perfectly great. Again, the 1811 jump, it is recommended in the majority of texts. What I'd say is maybe try the 18-9 once in a while and see what kind of results that you get from there as well. So the viewers that are interested, both ways are very good ways to jump. So let's get back to the game, Alex. So after the 1811, Patrick plays the 815 correct response. You follow up with 2522. Now, Patrick plays 7-11, which, what I understand in a lot of text as well, a lot of published play, this is regarded as maybe a little bit premature. I believe 5-9 is the preferred defense here. But tell me a little bit about this 7-11, Alex.
Yeah, 5-9 is probably slightly a little better, but 7-11 is okay too, as long as you know how to play. You know, it's they're both moves are sound, but at this point, when the fact that you do make that move so early, it is hard for red to be able to win it with the red side. So it kind of makes me which I mean, of course, I play really aggressive anyway, but it allows me to be even more aggressive. You know, figuring I'm probably not going to lose this game no matter what. So it just allows me to be more aggressive if you make this prematurely.
Sure. Yeah, and that's exactly what you do here. So you play this 24-19 move next, and then after the exchanges, Patrick comes right in with 11-15, and then you go 19-16. Did you consider any other move instead, Alex, or were you always just going to attack his single corner like this?
No, I was going to go 24-19 and 19-16 straight afterwards. There's another way that you could play that's also very strong for wide. You can go 24-20 as well, and you know, trying to cramp them into the center and having a good flanking attack. But I prefer this line. There's a very good reason why. You'll see that actually there's only one move in the computer here, and he doesn't make it, even though his move draws, it's significantly weak.
You know, it's interesting you talked about that 24-20 flank attack. When I was reviewing these games and looking at this, that is, of course, the way I would play this. I do like that cramping, that kind of flanking attack when there's a piece that's missing off a 7 and it's on 11 right away. I do like flanking whenever possible. So again, this just shows the differences between Alex and myself, and that's perfectly great. And Alex had success in this game, and that's really ultimately the most important. So what Patrick plays here, and yeah, you mentioned the computer doesn't know this move, even though you said it draws, is this unnatural 15-18. I was very surprised by this move. The fact that it draws is pretty incredible as well. So nicely done, Patrick here. So after the 15-18, which I don't know, Alex, if that threw you off during the game, but you just play the natural development of 29-25. I'm guessing this was just all pure natural crossboard for you, Alex, or did you know anything about that 15-18 move?
No, I didn't. I usually people if they play they'll usually play 15-19 if they don't go 2-7 or I have seen 4-8 sometimes and then 16-11 then 8-12 and 12-16 I think a couple of times but yeah I've never seen that 15-19 before or no, I'm sorry 15-18 before and it was a very good move. I mean it kind of, you know, I wouldn't say it kind of simplified it, at least for his side at the moment, but, you know, it made it to where, like, okay, I kind of just have to develop at the moment. I can't really attack just yet. So it gives him time to, you know, make his position, you know, a lot more stabilized, you know. So it's a very good move.
And you can see too, he has pieces on both 14 and 19. So he right now, for the time being, he does have control of the center of the board. So that gives him maybe a little bit, I want to say like a total edge, but it's an even position.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I'm perfectly fine where I'm at. I just kind of had to focus on where I, you know, just taking my time developing and once I do develop, then I'll start going on attack again. But right now, I can't really attack anything. So,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, so from here, again, as I mentioned, you play the 29-25. Patrick plays 4-8, and really what he's doing is just consolidating and developing his position as well at this point. So after the 4-8, you go again 25-22, just very natural developing moves. 2-7 now looking to ultimately cramp that piece on 16 of yours. And then Alex, what you play here, and maybe this is going to have some questions from the viewers. Certainly I had some initial questions about this move. There's a purpose behind it, but you go into the dust hole, you go 16-12. Tell me about this move, Alex.
Yeah, again, I'm playing for a win at this point. So my reason behind it was kind of honestly the cancellation of moves. So I didn't like 22-17 because of 8-11, and then he would just let me jump, and he would jump to 21st, and now my piece is stuck, and I have to go 27-23, and that's a decent position for red. And then I didn't really like 27-23 just yet because again he can go 8-11 and kind of force me off to the. I'm sorry, not 8-11, 6-10, then 8-11, kind of force me to the side again. Of course, if he goes 8-11, then I got 22-18. But so yeah, it was kind of just more of a cancellation of moves here. And once I went 16-12, I told myself that again I can start being more aggressive and look for a bunch of different tactics depending on what he plays next.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point you bring up. Oftentimes, when you're in the woods, so to speak, or when you're playing pure crossboard in a tournament, sometimes it's just process of elimination and just seeing what moves you know for sure are not good, which moves are maybe sound but maybe don't give you winning possibilities, and then moves that, like in your case here, Alex, you're trying for a win every single time. So you're looking at moves that are going to ultimately give you the best chance of winning. So again, I think it's really great insight, and hopefully the viewers can really take this in. So after the 16-12, what Patrick does is he plays 6-10, again, just shoring up his position. Now you play 27-23. More or less, if not immediately, it does kind of force this 8-11 move next. And now his piece is you taking the piece off 19, and now it's on the side, it's on 20 now. So from here, Alex, now the center is a little bit more disruptive. You have a little bit more scope. Tell me your thoughts here after you go 31-27.
Yeah, I decide that I'm gonna really try to force him to break out his what you call a bridge in the back row, and I'm gonna just kind of wait at the moment, but also make him play very restrictive and give him chances to possibly lose the game, and which he, of course, ends up doing. But yeah, I just wanted to make my first solution to try to go for a win was breaking up his bridge in the back row here. So that's what I end up doing at this point.
Yeah, and I got to say, your strategy here is fantastic because what he plays next is 5-9, and then you build another column by going 26-23 next. So he doesn't play 9-13 right now. It's probably not very good. He goes 7-11 next. Now, this next move, Alex, that you played is absolutely brilliant. I don't know if a lot of players would see this great waiting move, but you play a 30-25 next. And what that does is this may be the pivotal moment in the game, because what Patrick plays here is he plays 1-5. So he doesn't go 9-13 right away, 1-5, and that may be the dagger in this game, because what you can do is you can suffocate his position now. Alex, was this kind of your assessment as well, even before 1-5, or did you know as soon as 1-5 was played, the game was over?
I didn't know if the game was over, but I knew I had a very good possibility of winning this game when I was playing it. And yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, my plan kind of just worked out perfectly by just playing it by itself, really. And yeah, I just ended up going along with my plan and doing what I thought was my ultimate strategy, which was breaking out his bridge finally, and now I'm just going to be able to trap all of his pieces, really.
Yeah, and now this is also very instructive because the way Alex traps all the pieces is not necessarily what you would think. 2218 isn't involved here at all. What Alex does is he goes 2217 because what that does is that forces 913. So after 913, of course, Alex has to cover up 2522. And then Patrick plays 5-9, shoring up his double corner. But now, Alex, you here are just going to allow him to run out of moves because you play 32-28. He can go 11-16. He can go 11-15 as well. It doesn't matter. After 11-16, 28-24. And he's run out of moves. If he tries to go 3-7 next, you can just go up 12-8, and it's the same result there. So Patrick ended up resigning here, but this was a really well done forced ending from the strategy that you implemented really in the early mid-game stages, and you rolled with it, and you ended up winning a very good and instructive game, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, I didn't know if I for sure had a win once I was able to break his bridge and make him go 1-5, but I knew I definitely had the most powerful ending I could probably have up to that point. So yeah, I was very pleased with that game right there, because I probably played it as best as I possibly could, and I just I just ended up getting lucky at the end.
Well, look, I mean, that's a big part of it as well. So a really good game from two really good players. Patrick, really good game here as well. So let's move on to the third game, Alex. The third game is against a very seasoned veteran. He's been a tournament player for, goodness, I don't know how many years. I want to say several decades at least, and that's Anthony Bishop. Anthony Bishop he's published at least one book on checkers, and I know he's very much involved in the community as well. So he's, again, a very good master level player and has been for many years. So the opening that you two had, and Anthony has the red side, you have the white side. The opening that you balloted is 11-16, 23-18, and 9-14. Now, some of you may think, wow, it's kind of a radical exchange. Now that there's the early 9-14, white can just simply attack 24-19 and take the early 2 for 2. Red's going to be on the side of the board after that. But really, this is a fairly even opening. White does have some scope, some advantage, but it's not as detrimental as many people think, and oftentimes will play into the cross-choice opening, which I talk about in detail in my previous videos. So, but instead of the 24-19 attack, which probably is the most common attack here, Alex, you play a very good secondary line, and I want to hear your thoughts about why you decided to play 22-17 here instead.
Yeah, I ended up playing this move because, well, one, it's my preferred line on this anyway, but two, my father actually happened to get this same exact opening on John Webster just a couple of rounds previously, and of course, he took the 24-19 and so did Webster, and they played the two draws, and he said that we were talking, he was wondering like why he couldn't really, like he didn't really want to play 24-19 anymore, because it just turns out to be a draw, for a couple of master players, I mean, it just turns out to be a couple of nice decent draws. I told him, I was like, 22-17 is a lot better for a possible win, right? And he said no, he didn't know anything about it, and yeah, that I just ended up getting this same exact opening on Anthony Bishop a couple rounds later, and I didn't hesitate. I went basically 22-17 right away when we validated this opening.
Yeah, tremendous insight again, Alex. Thank you so much. So for the people watching, yeah, 24-19, it is commonly seen because it's so natural, and because of that reason, so much has been published, so much has been played, and it typically does result in draws at the highest level. So 22-17 offers some good winning advantages. So let's play this out, Alex. So after the 22-17, Anthony plays the natural 8-11. I think 16-20 is probably better here, But again, we'd have to go through the computers and actually see what they say, and of course what published play says as well. But after 8-11, you play again the natural 25-22. You hold back 24-19 still. But after Anthony plays 11-15, now you realize, okay, I need to disrupt some of the center advantage here for the red side. Now you break with 24-19. Alex, tell me your thoughts here. Was this a very natural move to you? Did you move this pretty quickly?
Yeah, I moved it pretty quickly, and it's because that now, after I take the double jump and him going to the side, I can also go 17-14 right away, and now I'm actually in a very powerful, even though it's kind of like in the same, a little bit same, structure position as if I were to take it right away. It's honestly a lot better than for me, in my opinion, because now this piece on 21 isn't even here anymore to where I have a side piece. My extra piece is now on 22, which means I have even more control of the center than what I usually would. So now that the piece on here is on 22, now he can't go 1-6 or 2-6 or 1-5, just he can't attack this piece on 14 at all. So now he has to focus all of his attention on the other side of the board and allow me to develop on this other side of the board and him come toward me while I'm going toward him on the other side. So I'm making it a very complicated game, even though it's still sound for both sides.
Yeah, really well said, Alex. And that's exactly what happens in this game. You can see White has all the advantages to go to 18 whenever he wants. He can go 22-18 whenever he pleases. And Red is just going to have to develop out of the single corner and ultimately go to the side of the board. So the center control is going to be under your control this entire game, Alex. You can dictate exactly when you want to go toward the center and how much of the center you want to capture. So yeah, I imagine what the analysts and what the computers say about this type of position is probably even. But again, from a human perspective, White has all the edge here because, again, Red cannot advance toward the center at all in this game.
Exactly.
So that's what Red does next. Red is going to develop 4-8. You are going to delay going to the center right at first. You go 29-25. Again, Anthony is just going to go 8-11 next. Now you decide to get into the center. You don't want to get into 11-15 right now or in this game at all. So now you delay that or you prevent that from happening by going 22-18. And what he's going to do, again, not a whole lot. 11-16, he's now working his way toward the side of the board. You are now going to make an inroad into his double corner with 14-9 next. Alex, do you consider any other moves on the board at this point, even before or instead of 14-9?
No, again, I'm trying to play for a win at this point, and I'm playing as aggressive as possible to get to this point. And I knew it may have not been exactly my best move, but again, I'm playing for a win, so I'm playing as aggressive as possible and making it as complicated as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and mission accomplished, really. So after the 14-9, Anthony's going to capture one of the center squares. He's going to go 16-19 next. You're just going to further develop out of the single corner with 25-22. He is going to go 12-16. Again, his whole strategy has been toward developing out of the single corner and work his way to your double corner. But ultimately, he's going to run out of moves, and that's kind of what happens in this game. So after the 12-16, you go 18-15. Maybe enticing 1-5 here, Alex. Maybe that's what just wanting to play a gambit line and pitch. I don't know if you were expecting that or if he was even considering that. But instead, he just goes safely into the 20 square. You're going to go 22-18 next. And now he's really starting to run on the moves. And Alex, after this next move, did you see a win on the board after he plays 3-8?
I didn't see a win quite yet. I mean, I thought I had a very powerful game because I'm going to go 18-14 next, but I didn't know exactly for sure if I did have a win. And yeah, you're right. When I first went 18-15, I was hoping that he would go 1-5, and I think it's actually on the computer is what you're supposed to do, but that's kind of what I was hoping for, and because I'm going to pitch the piece and then go into king by going 15-11, and I'm trying again. I'm going to be playing for a win in that, even though I'm going to be down for a piece. And yeah, I mean, it's just once he goes 3-8, I mean, it is very powerful. It's going to be really hard for him to draw this game when I go 18-14 next.
Yeah, and going back to the 1-5, so even after the pitch, you have 3 pieces in your back row plus a piece on 26. So you have the apex piece there. Again, the computers may evaluate it, but the computers don't have any nerves. They don't think about any kind of stress or repercussions from there. They're just cold machines, and a human is not like that. So again, I'm totally with you there. I would also play for that pitch and play for a win if 1-5 is played. But instead, we have this scenario now. So after the 18-14 move, he plays, and some of the viewers may think, well, he's just going to get a 2-for-1, and yeah, he does temporarily after the 7-10, and then taking 2 pieces. But now, Alex, not only can you take the double back with 26-23, you have the triple jump option, which will win the game because you pitched 9-6, and now you have the 26-23 move, and then the triple jump, and red is in a loss here. You have the bridge ending plus the king. There's no time for red to secure anything under the bridge, and it is a winning game for you. Anthony resigned at this point, and another great game, Alex. Now let's go to the 4th and final game, and this game is against the president of the American Checker Federation, Alan Milhone. And I've played Alan a number of times, as I'm sure you have as well. He's a very good player as well, knows his stuff. And the opening that you got is actually an opening that we've covered in this channel previously. And Alex, I know that you know this opening pretty well, and I'm sure you had a smile on your face when it was balloted. But we have the Will-o-the-Wisp here. And Alex, you had the white pieces, and Alan had the red pieces. So, Alex, when you got this opening, what were your initial thoughts?
I was pleasant. I was pleasantly happy. At this point, this was the last round of the first day. I was very tired, and I was, barely staying awake to play this last round of the day. And once I got this, I was very happy, because that is kind of what I needed. Something I knew that I could play just off of, making natural moves, and I could be very aggressive, even though I was significantly tired. I was playing for a win on both games most of the time. I really knew where I was going because we had been over it so many times. I wouldn't say so many times, but we had definitely been over it a good amount. And I was definitely happy that we ended up out at this opening.
Yeah. Again, it's familiar on so many levels, and I'm sure Alan was pretty familiar with it as well. The sequence that you all played in the early stages of the game is actually one of my favorite sequences in this opening. So after, again, the 22-18 and the single capture jumps back, Alan plays 7-11. Again, this is a great line of play. The 10-14 line, I think, is a little bit more natural, maybe a little bit more easygoing, maybe kind of what you were expecting, Alex. Especially, I know you were tired, so maybe you were kind of hoping for 10-14, but the 7-11 offers some great chances for both sides. Obviously, the natural 18-14 move will lose. The best of us have been in that situation before. But instead, you play the correct 19-15 jump, and then Alan plays 6-9. Again, another great sequence. And you follow up with another great move with 21-17. Again, this is all very standard published play. This is a great line in the classic Will-o-the-Wisp opening. Now, what Alan plays here next, I'm not familiar with this move. Maybe you are, Alex. He plays 9-13. Now, traditional text gives 3-7 as the traditional follow-up. What do you think about this 9-13, Alex? Did you know anything about this, or were you crossboard from here on out?
I was crossboard from here on out. I didn't know anything about it. it's an okay move. It's not too weak or anything, but it definitely wasn't published play at all. So at this point, I'm definitely cross forward. And again, I really like my position after I go 17-14. I'm perfectly content. I mean, I think we all knew. I knew that 100% that was by far the best move. So I was like, okay, so I'm going to be playing for a win up to now that I'm at this point. So yeah, I was perfectly fine with him going 9-13. Then yeah, I wouldn't say completely outplayed him from here on, but he just kind of, I wouldn't say beat himself, but he gave himself a much weaker position than what he really needed to do. He kind of made it a little overcomplicated for himself, which we all do that a lot, especially me. Like there'll be times where I overcomplicate it myself, because my style is I always try to play for a win if I see any chance on the board, and that just ends up what he's doing at this point.
Yeah, and I think with the two moves or with the two pieces now on 14 and 15, you've dominated the center of the board. And so, yeah, I would feel in the same position. I mean, of course, you have a piece on 18 as well. So your position is very solid at this point. And what Alan does next, I love to learn more about or see his strategy, because he just kind of follows up with this 13, 17, 17, 21. It's almost as if he's just waiting for you maybe to make a mistake yourself. That's kind of what this looks like, because when you develop, again, with the 13-17 and then 17-21, that piece is not really in play anymore. So it's just you're allowing white to develop a very strong position, and that's exactly what happens here. So after the 13-17 move, you're just going to, again, to continue to develop toward the center of the board with 28-24. And then again, he goes 17-21 next. So really taking this piece completely out of the game, and which can ultimately serve as a backstop on 17, which is what you ultimately do, which will win the game for you. So after he does that, Alex, now you have full control of all center squares. You go 24-19. So you have pieces on 14, 15, 18, and 19. At this point, Alex, are you thinking, I know you said you can hope to just outplay him at this point, but are you seeing now toward the end of the game, are you feeling like the winning chances are coming here, or are you still waiting for maybe more mistakes to be made from his end?
At the time, I was kind of just hoping that I would be able to outplay him still. I couldn't really see too far ahead because, again, I was tired, really tired at this point. I knew I by far had the better game. I'm just completely dominating the center, and he's all the way to the side, and he can't even stabilize his position because if he goes 3-7 or 1-6, I can just go 14-10 or 15-10. So he can't really do anything at the moment except go more to the side, and sometimes you can get away with going to the side if you have a good flanking attack, but he has no counterplay or a good flanking attack at all to this point. So this is just not a very good game for Rev now.
Yeah, he doesn't really have any of the collateral to back up a flanking attack. Usually you need some trading power here when you have a good flanking attack. So a piece maybe on 6 or maybe on 7 still. He really doesn't. But what he does is, again, he plays what I think would be pretty natural moves in this position. He goes 11-16. Now, again, you shore up with 27-23 and building a column there, maybe waiting for some trading power ultimately with 14-9 or 14-10 ultimately, or maybe even 15-10. He's going to play 2-6 now, which I think is interesting. He didn't go into the 20 square right away. The 2-6 move, it doesn't really offer any kind of immediate trading chances. I'm guessing at this point, Alex, maybe you started to see some. Now you're thinking maybe the win is on the board at this point.
Yeah, I definitely see the win at this point. I'm about to run him out of moves, and he's going to have to let me go in the king role eventually. So, yeah, I see the win at this point.
Yeah, so after the 2-6, again, you're just going to develop 29-25. Now he goes into the 20 square. Again, you're just going to play natural moves, 25-22. Now he exchanges off 8-11. And What you play next, really, in my opinion, is the dagger of the move here, and that's 22-17. What makes this piece even more so a liability for red on 21 is you have it serving as a backstop. So now there's trading powers from both sides from white. You have the center trading power column, and now you have the side trading column power, because you have his backstop really serving as another piece that you can use. So at this point, he's trying to make an inroad into your double corner. He goes 20-24. You go 19-15, again, more or less forcing 11-16. And then after the 15-11 advance, just waiting to exchange that piece, he makes one last ditch effort with 16-20. And then after 23-19, he resigned the game. The game is over because, again, you can just trade out that piece on 3 and absolutely suffocate his position even more so. So you completely flanked him out, dominated the center. And I think that's a great example why center control is so lethal in checkers, because when you flank your opponent to the sides, you can control almost everything on the board at your discretion. So, Alex, another really nice win. Great job again. I know you were very tired this round, so the fact that you're able to win like this was very impressive.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said, I just kind of had a game plan from the start of this, the start of this game, and I just ended up, he kind of forced all of his pieces to the side. And again, I don't know if you would say necessarily beat himself, but he definitely made it overcomplicated than what he really needed it to be. And just once he got down to that position, it was just it was going to be a hard draw, hard time for him to draw it. And I just ended up outplaying him, and it just ended up getting to this position to where he couldn't really do much with it. There's nothing you can really do anything about this position at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, really great playing, Alex, and great playing from your competition as well. Again, Tennessee traditionally is seen as one of the best tournaments in the country, and that stands true once again this year. So, Alex, really appreciate you sharing these games with us, and I hope the viewers can really take in some of your insight. You provided some, again, very invaluable insight into tournament play, the way that you think, the way that you go about these games, and hopefully the viewers can use them in their own games. So, Alex, congratulations. Thank you so much again. And thanks, as always, for watching.